Guys, it's the political kid here today, and I'm behind. I'm in front of this flag that I put up, and today I just want to talk about JD Vance's chance for winning an election in 2028. I know I've really gone into detail on who could win for the Republicans in 2028, but I feel like for JD Vance, it's more complicated than people think, since there's a lot of issues with conservatives may not like him if he tries to go more moderate on some issues like he did during the 2024 campaign. So today I'm just going to be explaining that, and then you guys can comment down below what do you think about it. So, I mean, JD Vance is popular among conservatives and moderates. I mean, some people thought that he barely won the debate against Tim Walz, and it was more like civil debate than the presidential debate. So a lot of people like him for making politics more civil than it is. So yeah, but like JD Vance would really need to find a guy who is super conservative on a lot of issues if he wants to bring more conservatives to the table, since if he tries to go with moderates, he could have a good time winning some swing states, but he could also alienate a lot of those MAGA conservatives, and would really need Trump to like rally for him. And then there's also the issue of Trump and the whole thing. I mean, his term right now is going to be a lame duck period because we all know that it's going to end eventually. And I mean, there's some exciting stuff to like find out about his administration, but like after the 2026 midterms, it's just like, nobody really wants him anymore. I mean, especially among Democrats, kinda among moderates, but conservatives would still love him. I mean, yeah, but like he's Trump's gambling like on tariffs, on like his the TikTok being resurrected, which I actually think that a lot of more younger people will actually support the Republicans, since they brought back TikTok while the Democrats try to ban it. So JD Vance also has like a very humble upbringing, which definitely helps him in the case. However, I like sometimes people see him as more of a flip flopper, and that could kind of show up. However, he has a good way of explaining to people why he does things, and he could really show his honesty and like kind of truthfulness. And he was very civil during the 2024 campaign. I just want to point that out. And like, I mean, the inauguration of JD Vance was also pretty cool, seeing his like little kids there. But it's the start of the administration. Who really knows? But we're just talking about JD Vance. Well, I'm just gonna talk about an issue that's been happening for the last couple of years. So from the 80s to the 2010s, there's been this like incumbency bias where if you're an incumbent, you have a better chance of winning the election. However, from 2016 to 2024, that's not the case. I mean, every single incumbent lost, so it could be really difficult for JD Vance to like change, like for him to focus his campaign as like keeping the changes, while his administration might be doing a lot of things that hurt the economy and also things that hurt America abroad. But also, it's just really a gamble, since it could also help them. However, JD Vance still needs to make sure that he does more like aggressive stances on policies to make sure he's divisive, and also make sure that conservatives stay in line, while also making sure that the Democrats can't really make the campaign all about change. So another thing JD Vance could do to help his campaign is if the Democrats do win the midterms, which could seem likely if Trump's plan doesn't pay off for him and the Republicans. He could also try to blame Congress for being too liberal and not being cooperative, so he can make the Democrats look like they're not being able to be working like bipartisan agreements, which could really hurt the Democrats, considering that a lot of people want bipartisanship so they could actually get stuff done. I mean, a lot of younger people are especially mad that things aren't getting done, and there's more issues that aren't really as helpful to the American people and aren't as important. So it really just shows how like anything could happen, and especially the midterms do really they do really matter for JD Vance's like campaign, since if the Democrats do win the midterms, it could make the Senate really very uncooperative with the president of the Senate, who is JD Vance. It also could make a lot of policies not being able to go through, which could make the Democrats look like they're just blocking at every single opportunity. Issue that JD Vance could face with is that if Donald Trump is at like during the end of his term perceived as a worse president than at the start of his term, it could really hurt his chances, considering that he's his right hand man. He's the guy to trust for Donald Trump. So if Trump does do below average, JD Vance maybe needs to distance himself a little bit, but not totally alienating those MAGA conservatives. Also making sure that if he does do like moderately well in his term, in the short term, that means that like Republicans could campaign on, hey, things are going for the good now, so you should keep us in charge. And that's like the whole thing. The whole thing about politics is that when something happens, you need to make sure you could take advantage of it. That helps you the best. If you're losing on something, you just make yourself more appealing to other people. But if you're winning, you try to get. You need to make sure that you're the one responsible for that, so you could take the blame for doing some good things. So JD Vance needs to make sure that he takes part in these issues and make sure that he could really talk to the American people if he wants to run for president in 2028. So basically, in conclusion, what I'm saying is if JD Vance does want to try to win the Republican nomination in 2028, and then win the general election, he needs to make sure that like those old Republicans are on his side, while also making sure that MAGA Republicans are on his side, and also make sure that if, depending on what Trump is doing and how his popularity is, that he could equally distance himself and also like keep to his name on those issues.